Hi folks, welcome back to one more episode of the Supply Chain Show. Today's episode is super special. It's super special for two reasons. The first reason is I would like to confirm that the old normal is back because we are touching each other, we are face to face, no mask, right? And the second reason for being special is I have the famous Sadi Abdel-Kariem. He is the CEO of Slimstock, young aspiring entrepreneur, working here, changing supply chain, improving supply chain for some really big customers, right? And we'll talk about it more. Sadi, welcome. How are you, sir?
Thank you, Muddassir. Absolute pleasure. Thanks.
How's it going?
Yeah, it's going fantastic, man.
So tell me, what's happening with the business?
Great to be on the other side of COVID, man. Yeah. I'd say that there's, especially for the world of, so people, let me start by telling you a little bit about what I do.
Yes.
So I run a company called Slimstock. And the idea behind Slimstock is it's a supply chain company, but we've developed our own tool. And so we do inventory management, demand planning, supply planning, S&OP, category management, assortment management, so all of the fun stuff within the supply chain software. But with a twist that we're very, very focused. So we are exclusively a supply chain team, right? So that's kind of what Slimstock is, and we started off in the region about 5 years ago. And I would say COVID was a massive change. It was a big change in the world of supply chains. It was even bigger for supply chain technology. So it is great to be on the other side of the on the other side of the COVID. Thankfully, there's been a massive surge in demand of supply chain tech need, I should say, especially here in the Middle East and Africa. It's actually it's an exciting time. It's a really great time.
Bit of background. So we met once before in one of the conferences, and Sadi is there, contributing and speaking and all that. So that's great. Well, there is one thing very unique about knowing you, which I actually don't know a lot of CEOs. I should network more actually. That you into business, helping improving supply chain. So in today's episode, what I want to talk, with Sadi especially, I want to learn from his experience because Middle East and Africa is a very unique region. How efficient supply chain in Europe or maybe India or USA, where you have a very normalized structure, you have an OEM, you have a distributor, you have a dealer, there's systems in place, a lot of automation, digitalization. It's not like that. It's different, right? It's very much, there's very localized challenges, which from systems and solutions for the people's capability, language, the diversity of language, multiple issues. So today I want to basically pick, valuable time and knowledge of Sadi to explain us. So if I say, Sadi, give me the top 3 challenges which is unique to you see in Middle East and Africa, because how many countries you work, basically Slimstock, how you manage?
I manage offices in probably 8 or 9 countries, but we have customers in probably 25 countries, just in the Middle East and Africa.
Right.
Slimstock is a global company, so we've got offices in about 30 countries, let's say, and customers in over 70. So cool. We have a good idea of what's happening from a supply chain perspective globally. And so when I speak to my peers who also run other regions, there is some differences.
Yeah.
There's some unique challenges to being in the Middle East and Africa. So I'll start by segregating the Middle East and segregating Africa, right? I think that's one thing that is important because they both have their own unique issues. Typically in the Middle East, what happens is the principal or the brand owner will contract with each individual, with a trading business of some sort, typically a family-owned trading business, and they would give either exclusivity to this market, or they'll have 2 or 3 distributors within the market. So that is something that is quite unique to the Middle East and Africa. We also do see that in Latin America as well, right? Now that brings its own challenges. What happens is the principals themselves, let's take some examples, the Kraft Heinz, the P&Gs, the Unilevers, the LVMHs, the Bridgestones, the Pirellis, the Toyotas, they will all have a relationship with this individual distributor, and in essence what happens is they don't own the stock in their own country, so they transfer the risk of the stock to the distributor.
Yeah. So they're essentially buying it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. So for them, it's sell out into the market,
Yeah.
and then for the supplier, they need to, or so for the distributor, they need to be able to purchase and then run the market, right, through their different channels. So what we do see is specifically within the Middle East, you see long lead times.
Yeah.
That is very, very unique. Situated from a situation in the world, most of the manufacturing either happens in Asia or in Europe that manages the Middle East and Africa. Now FMCG, there is some exceptions. The world of Procter & Gamble and Reckitt Benckiser, the fast mover consumer goods they'll produce here. So you've got the long lead times, but then because you are the exclusive distributor, right, you will then have really large MOQs, minimum order quantities, right? So these supply chain constraints, they all affect your stock, right? The long lead times, the minimum order quantities, and then of course you want to take a look at what the service level is to your channels, and this will all affect your inventory holding. As you know, Muddassir, the cost of shipping has gone through the roof over the past 2 years. Yeah. So keeping your finger on the pulse is really important when you're talking about scaling your business. So that's one thing. I would say that the long lead times combined with the large MOQs are...
And the power of distributors themselves, right? And we should not really undermine here.
Of course.
Right? It's here, the distributors go whole because of legal reasons, like if you want to be, I know the laws are changed in USA, it's a UAE right now, but you cannot really open a company without having a local partner.
True.
Right?
That's very true. Yeah.
It's relaxed. So that means legally you are bound to have a local partner.
Exactly.
And that creates a lot of, let's call it, challenges of, for me, this is what you can only do so much innovation here in the business model.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly. So I think that kind of brings me to my second point.
Yeah.
So the combination of having the lead times, the MOQs, that creates one problem.
Yeah.
The second problem I would say is the how do I put this? I want to talk about, I want to put this as, let's call it the knowledge, right? The capability. The capability within the Middle East and Africa are relatively
not mature.
Not mature.
Yeah.
Right. They are still designing. A lot of the times when we speak to our customers, we see digital transformations. They're talking about digital transformations, but really what they're doing is their ERP.
Yeah.
So that, as as both of us know, an ERP isn't really a digital transformation. It's the backbone of your
business,
of your system. Yeah. Exactly. So the supply chain maturity itself is quite low. We still see a lot of silo planning, right? We don't see an end-to-end world. And that end-to-end world, like for example in Europe or the United States, where the manufacturer is also the distributor and is sometimes getting it to the end customer, right? We don't see a lot of that over here. And so I think that's a second thing, the supply chain maturity, which is an opportunity. So for your listeners, it's an opportunity, right? So if you guys are in the region, skill yourself up. If you're not in the region, contact Muddassir, contact myself, and if you feel like you can add some value into this region, you have that knowledge, then we do need more talent. Right? So there's two things. I think the third, and it kind of ties into what you were saying. Sorry.
Language. I think because in Europe, they speak, it's very diversified. Even you say Egypt speak Arabic, Saudi speak Arabic, UAE speak Arabic, or other countries, like there's a Moroccan Arabic as well. But they're all different languages, right? Correct. And I see that here, this whole cultural diversity and the language diversity is like a very unique. I mean, what's your experience? You work in so
it is. I think let's unravel it. Language is one part of it, but really it also stems from this principle to market, right? And due to the sovereignties of these different jurisdictions, so I'll give you an example of UAE, Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi in the Gulf, there's of course more, but then you have Kenya on the east, you have Ethiopia, you have Sudan, all the way down to South Africa, into Central Africa, then you have West Africa, the likes of Senegal, and then up in the north you've got Morocco, Algeria. They all do speak separate languages, but what they don't have is a unified trade agreement, right? So what that forces is it forces the principal to go and make a separate agreement with each jurisdiction. And it's very difficult to move stock between the different locations, right? Because they then have tax treaties in between them, right? So some of here in the Gulf, they're a little bit easier, right? So you can move stock between the UAE and Saudi relatively easy. There was the blockade with Qatar, which had a massive impact. So Qatar was importing from Europe and China instead of importing from Saudi when it was right next door on the neighbors. So you have these multi-jurisdictional issues that create, in essence, what it really does is it creates bullwhip, right, in the region, right? Because now you have overstock here, overstock here, overstock here, overstock here, and then they're not really planning at an aggregate level. So that's one thing, the jurisdictions. But you combine on top of that, of course, the languages, the cultures, the differences, right? So I mean, that is a very unique challenge. Like if you take a look at, for example, Latin America, primarily it's Spanish speaking, right? For the most part. You do have some Portuguese on the east there in Brazil, but most of it is Spanish speaking. Asia, I think, is a little bit more like us, right? Where there's multiple different languages, there's different agreements. So, I mean, we kind of modeled, the UAE at least modeled itself a little bit after Singapore, right? Creating the free zones, creating a place where people speak primarily English, that people can come and trade and so on. And that's, I think, one of the main reasons that the UAE cemented itself as the regional hub.
Yes. Right? That leads to the point I want to pick your brain on, which is the opportunity for the supply chain professionals, right? Because you are in the game of supply chain. We're going to talk about Slimstock in a minute as well. But let's say these are the, I know you mentioned about inventory and MOQ and all that, and the digital transformation, right? But let's assume we can get around that. So how you see that affecting the growth, right? Because that's the key part here, right? Because KSA, everybody talking about KSA, Neon project, multi-trillion-dollar investment from MBS and all this. But in theory and ads looks good though. However, and on the ground, when, as a CEO, the challenges. How you see the vision and the actual challenge to get to that vision.
So, let's focus on the Gulf. And if you take a look at the Gulf, this oil wealth that has been created over the past, let's say, 40 to 50 years, but really invested over the past, let's say, 30 years, 25 to 30 years, it's created what we call an Arab Renaissance, right? So you see that this expenditures or the investment has led to an influx of expats, right? And some countries have made it a little bit more welcoming than others, right? That said, I'll give you a prime example. The city of Dubai. It cemented itself as the hub. It made itself logistically, both from air and from a sea perspective, the link between the East and the West. It has created a place for talent to come, to thrive, and to live the way that they would like to live, right? Now that created, let's say, a pedestal. And what you see is, in this renaissance, you're seeing that it's other, less mature...
Trying to copy
it, right? So a lot of the models, whether it's free zones, whether it's access to entertainment, tourism, community housing and living, quality of life.
Oman is doing it, Saudi is doing it,
Qatar is doing it. Qatar is a little bit, probably even a little bit more advanced as well on it. I mean, Saudi is really making a big deal of it, right?
I mean, tallest building, Neon, 18 projects and all this.
And so that said, once you have a more influx of people, right, there's more demand. Right? So we already have demand, right? It's been growing over the past decades, right? But the more attractive we make it for people, the more demand that will be. So specifically when it comes to supply chain professionals, this is a beautiful moment for supply chain. I don't think anything could have happened that would be more impactful to the need of supply chain professionals than COVID. It really brought the unsung heroes to the top, because nobody can take the pictures of, I mean, you guys all remember the pictures of the toilet rolls on the shelf. And that was a very impactful moment, because we started thinking, well, why aren't the toilet rolls on the shelf? Well, whose job is it to make the toilet rolls on the shelf, right? So that image can't get out of our mind. And now, so all the CEOs, all the COOs, they all understand what demand planning means. They all understand how to clean COVID transactions.
Yes.
And then what that means to, and especially when you're talking about pressure of capital in a post-COVID market, where if I'm a trading business, where's my money? My money's in my stock. So I think it's a really unique moment for supply chain professionals.
It's braceless stuff, guys, right? But while talking about braceless stuff, and I'll talk about Slimstock in a minute, but if you lasted that long, I have a news for you. Because me and Sadi was talking about having a grand event in Dubai for supply chain professionals. Nobody's selling anything, nobody's talking about you give me money. It's just for networking and entertainment. What's your vision on that? Just sell that first.
You know what? I mean, it's quite simple. If you're in supply chain, if you like supply chain like Dr. Muddassir and I, we want to know you. We want to network with you. We want to facilitate for you. We want to understand from you. We also want to share with you. And of course, this is something that we are, as you know, it's just something that we want to do. Of course, there's not going to be any charge to it. It's just we want to come and meet you. We want to, find out what you're doing. Maybe you can share with us, what's happening in your individual worlds.
So follow Sadi on LinkedIn, Slimstock, follow me as well, and we will post it in. It's coming soon. We don't know the details yet, but it's coming very soon. Before the summer for sure, because it gets very hot. 100%. But now I want to dig deep into Slimstock. I've seen the software. It's definitely the BMW bent. It's very, very nice software.
Thanks,
right?
Man.
And I know you are launching a new product. I mean, let me give you some numbers. I did some research before. It's $80+ million company, Slimstock. It's globally available. It's Dutch based. You are heading the Middle East and Africa. You're growing in USA. And it's one of the top software when it comes to demand planning, S&OP inventory. That's the reason I'm here, because that's what I do for a living, right?
Of course.
Right. But it's super good software, and you got some really good plans of growing and R&D. Just tell us about those plans.
Yeah, man. So I mean, that's listen. There was the silo approach, right? Everybody, when you take your transactions from the ERP system, everybody would then have their Excel sheet. They paid really good consultants in order to be able to create these Excel sheets. But as you know, that's still siloed, right? You're still dealing with it either at a channel, at a brand, or whatever it may be. So then you have these world of what we call SNOE, which is Sales and Operations Execution. So it's really a demand planning system that uses all of the best-in-class algorithms that most likely, if you've had good consultants, you built into your Excel sheet, right? But then using really nice tech like machine learning, outlier detection, and classification, applying assortment processes. So as you know, an Excel sheet is only so much. You only have a certain amount of rows, and it takes a long time if you have a lot of SKUs, right? So we need some good tech. So that's where we came in, and that was the first version of the software. And we got to on the Gartner list, and then the business started growing. What came after SNOE was then driven by the demand from the customers. They, of course, and the next thing, once you have a system that matches your supply and your demand, so it takes your forecast, it creates your forecast, and then tells you how much you need to purchase and then how much to balance between the different locations. The next thing you're going to say is, I need my sales team. If I don't get the input from my sales team, then is my forecast real? Right? Of course it isn't, because there's always new product introductions, there's always new channels, there's always new customers, and the sales team do need a place to have their word. So you guys are all supply chain professionals. What's the word I'm looking for? SNOP. That's the one, right? So of course we create the SNOP, and it's a really beautiful functionality there that able to, of course, take the demand for you from that, what we call that smart, right? From that bottom up, and then give you a place to aggregate, and then take a look at how the budgets are and where we are. So we've got IDP as well. Tons of stuff, man.
I just want to give a comment here, and I'm not trying to promote selling. It's just because a pure supply chain guy who knows a lot of software. I've used Slimstock, seen some demo. I tell you what, the whole dashboard you guys have done and how you can easily change, and basically any software can produce the sales forecast. But it's all about how a demand plan can go in and change the numbers after talking to the sales guys and convert into a proper demand plan, and then look at your inventory and it's made it so easy. That I wish when I was, I'm never gonna be demand planner again, or never gonna be SNOP manager again. But I wish when I was demand planner, 10 years ago, getting old, I wish I have that tool, honestly.
I tell you what, it was designed for those people.
It's an excellent tool. I would recommend. Again, just contact Sadi and contact
please.
me. We'll get you in, right? Sadi, it's been a pleasure.
Muddassir, thanks for your time.
I really enjoyed our conversation.
Thank you,
I think we'll pick you up as a mentoring, hopefully in few years' time.
It would be an absolute pleasure. So, good luck to you guys. Please stay in touch. And Muddassir, thank you so much.
Thank you very much, sir.
Cheers, buddy.
It's been a pleasure.
Thanks, sir.
Ciao, guys. And as we say, as vloggers, subscribe and keep it simple and keep it real. Ciao. Bye.
So if you like this video, don't forget to like, share, subscribe and leave your comments below.